Numbers. The difficulty is going to be easy, so let's go ahead and read the problem statement. You are given two variables x and y, each holding a numerical value. The task is to modify these variables such that x now holds the original value of y and y now holds the original value of x. This exchange must occur without losing the original values of either variables during the process. So for the input format, we have first line of input is the numerical value of x and the second line of input is the numerical value of y. For the output, we just need to show the values of x and y after swapping. Both the values are integers, which are below 1000. And these are the sample cases given. You can see, look at them here. So we can see that in the output, the values of x and y are separated by one block of empty space. By keeping that in mind, let's go ahead and write the program. First, we need to take the value of x from the standard input. We can do that by writing this line of program. What this line of program does is basically take the input from the standard input and cast it into an integer type. We can do the same for y. So now we took the values of x and y from standard input. Now we just need to swap them. So for this, let's take a temporary variable named temp which will store the value of x or hold the value of x. Since x is already stored in the temporary variable, we can go ahead and change the value of x because we will not be losing the value of x anyway, even if we change it, because the temporary variable is already holding on to it. And now, with this step, we effectively placed the value of y in the variable x. So the original value of x is now gone from the variable, but since it is stored in temporary, we do not need to worry about it. And the value of y has been stored in x successfully. So half of the process is completed right now. Now we just need the value of x to be stored into the value of y, into the variable y. So we write y equals to temporary. Temporary has the value of x, the original value of x. So now by writing y equals to temporary variable temp, we can just copy the value of x, the original value of x, into the variable y. With this, the algorithm is complete. We have completed swapping both the numbers and now we just need to print them. We show the output with the print command. We type print x comma y and then we write set is equals to single empty character. What this does is basically when writing a print command, when the different variables are separated with a comma in the print command, while generally when we execute this, the x and y will be printed side by side without any gap or anything, which will make it hard for us to differentiate what is x and what is y. That is why the output format specified us to give one single block of empty space between the two integers. We can achieve this empty space by writing set is equals to one empty space. What this set command does is whatever the value, whatever the character you place here will appear between the integers which you have given to this print command. So when we run this Python file, we can give a sample input values. For x, we give 10, and for y, we give 30. Yes, so now you can see the value of x will be printed first, which is 30, and the value of y, which is printed next, is 10. And both are separated by one single empty block of character. And thus the problem is solved. So thank you everyone. I hope you understood the concept which I am trying to teach here, and I hope to see you again in the next video. Bye bye. So welcome back everybody to Code Century. Today we will be discussing the day 4 HackerRank questions second problem, finding the maximum and minimum among three numbers. So the difficulty is given to be easy. So let's go ahead and read the problem statement. You are given three numbers x, y, and z. Find the maximum and minimum among the numbers. Okay, so seems very easy. So input format is basically first line of input is the numerical value of x, the second line of input is the numerical value of y, and the third line of input is the numerical value of z. So x, y, and z are given in three lines in standard input, and the output format is just maximum and minimum values. The constraints are given that all the input values will be integers below 1000. Here we can see the sample cases. When input is 10, 30, and 50, the output is maximum equals 50 and minimum equals 10. With both, we also need to specify which one of these is maximum and which one of these is minimum by writing this max and min over here, and each need to be displayed one above the other. Okay, so basically these both need to be separated by a new line character. Okay, so let's go ahead and write the program for this. So first we need to take the input of these three variables. So let's go ahead and do that. X equals to integer type input from standard in. The same goes to y and z. So taking input is complete. So now let's go ahead and write the logic for finding the minimum and maximum variables among these three. So let's keep it simple and use a very basic if else conditions. So if x is greater than y, say, then if x is greater than y, that would obviously mean out of these two variables, the biggest variable max is x and the smallest variable min is y. But if this is not the case, if x is not greater than y, that is y is greater than x, then we write in the else condition that the max variable or the biggest variable is y and the minimum variable is actually x. Now, we only found out what is the maximum and what is the minimum variable of out of two variables over here. But we are given three variables and we need to find the maximum variable and the minimum variable within these three variables. So to account for the third variable, we will be writing more another two if conditions like if z is greater than max, only then if z is only greater than x and y. Since we already checked for x and y, we already have the greatest value in between x and y in the maximum variable. So if z is greater than max, which mean, then that would mean z is greater than both x or y. So the maximum variable which we are looking for would be z. So the and if it is not, else if z is not greater than maximum, then max would already be whatever it is right now. So we do not need to care about that condition. So let's go ahead and write another if condition where z is lower than the existing minimum variable. Since minimum variable will be already having the value which is lower out of x and y, if z is even lower than minimum, that would mean z is the least valued variable out of these three variables. So let's go ahead. If that would be the case, then we need to store z value in minimum variable. But if it is not the case, if z is greater than minimum, then that would mean the value which is stored in minimum till now is the actual correct minimum value out of all the three variables. So we need not write a specific else case for that. And with that, the logic is complete. We found the maximum and minimum values of the three variables. So let's go ahead and just display the output we have got. Using the print command, we show that max value is max variable and minimum value is stored in the min variable. So what this basically does is first we get the string max with this column, and then we will be shown the value which is stored in the max variable, which is the biggest out of all the three given variables. Since the print is called again here, separate from this, so the contents in this print will be displayed in a new line. So first we will be getting this string minimum with the column, and then we will be seeing the value of this variable min. So let's go ahead and run this Python file. Let's take the sample inputs. X will be 10, Y will be 30, and Z will be 50. If we execute this, we get that the maximum value is 50 and minimum value is 10. So thus, this is how you find the maximum and minimum among three numbers problem. I hope you understood what I am trying to teach you here, the basic concept that is underlying in this problem. So thank you. I hope to meet you again in the next video. So hello everyone, welcome to day 4 of Code Century. Today we will be solving the third problem of HackerRank questions. Calculate grades of students based on average marks. The difficulty is given to be easy, so let's go ahead and read the problem statement. Obtain average marks from the user and assign grades based on the constraints. Marks greater than or equal to 90 is grade S, between 80 to 90 is A, 70 to 80 is B, 60 to 70 is C, 50 to 60 is D, and below 50 is F. That's a very cruel grading. So obtain marks from the user. Okay, that's the input format. And for the output format, we need to show the marks obtained and the grade by, okay, so we also need to write the string mark obtained in the column, and here we need to write the string grade and the column, and here we need to display the actual variable value. In case if the marks are lower than 0 or more than 100, output should be invalid. We also have a constraint of 0 to 100 for the marks, but anyway, they asked us to implement this too, so we will be implementing it in the program. So let's go ahead and write the program for this. First input should is just one integer value from the user, which are the marks. So we create a variable marks, which will store the integer value from the standard input, and then we will be we need to check if the marks are below 0 or above 100. So if marks are below 0 or marks are above 100, then in this case we just print invalid marks. Yeah. So yeah, we covered for the edge case over here. Now we can focus on the actual main logic. So if this else stage is not happening, so then we go into this else condition. In the else, if marks are greater than 90, if the marks are greater than or equal to 90, then we have the variable grade, we set the variable grade as S. Else if the marks are greater than or equal to 80, we set the grade equal to A. Now we do not need to check here if the marks are also lower than 90 or not, because if the marks are above 90, then this statement will be activated and the whole reset ladder will be ignored. The later commands will be ignored. But if this first condition is not satisfied, then it will check for this condition. Marks are above 80 or not. If the marks are not above 90, if this is not satisfied, then we definitely know that the marks are below 90. So this condition will check for marks are above 80 or not. So since we already know that they are not above 90, they are below 90. So if we just check if the marks are above 80, then we can check the whole condition of grade A. So with that logic, if marks are greater than or equal to 80, we set the grade equal to A. And extending this logic, if marks are greater than or equal to 70, we set grade is equals to B. Else if marks greater than or equal to 60, set grade is equals to C. Else if marks greater than equal to 50, grade is D. Finally, if all these fail, then we are sure that the marks entered by the user are lower than 50. And when the marks are lower than 50, then he gets a grade F. So grade is equals to F. All right. Now that we have calculated what grade the user would probably get, now we just need to show him what grade he actually got. In the output format, we first need to write marks obtained and then print the value marks, and then in another print statement so that both these will be printed in two different lines, because that's how it's shown in the output format. Grade is grade. So okay, so this is the program for the given problem. So let's take the first sample case. The input is given as 70. We should expect to see a B. Let's run this Python file. U input as 70. There we have it. We get the grade as B. Now in the next sample case, we see the input as 90. So let's again run it. So I think the value should be S right now. 90. Yep, the grade is S. Perfect. And finally, let's test that edge case. If the marks are minus 50, they are invalid marks. You do not get a grade for minus 50. So let me tell you one more thing about this program. Why we wrote these print commands over here without writing them out of the else statement, because if we write these print commands out of the else statement like this, then what would happen is this if condition would run first, and if this is, if we get a marks from the user as between 0 to 100, then this condition is basically ignored and we go into the else. All this is calculated, the grade is calculated, and then we get to see the grade over here. But the thing is, after all this, This works perfectly for if the marks are between 0 to 100. But if the marks are lower than 0 or above 100, then what would happen is first we would get this output, invalid marks output, and then this print command will also be called, marks obtained will be displayed, and it will try to display the grade, but there is no grade variable at all, so it will throw an error at us. So to bypass this risk, what we have done is put these both print statements in this else condition. Where so these statements are only executed if this statement is wrong. If this condition is proved wrong, only then these both print statements will be executed. By doing this, we will eliminate any risk of displaying the marks when the marks are already invalid and trying to calculate the grade of those invalid marks. Trying to show the grade of those invalid marks. That will cause an error because we did not create a variable grade in the first place. So we solved that problem by just placing these both print statements in this else condition. So I hope you understood the concepts here. Thank you.